Tonight, the push to remove President Trump from office.
Every day he's in office, he remains a real and present danger to the country.
More on the calls for the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment and what happens if it doesn't. Plus,
these are private companies. They are not public squares.
Social media moves to silence President Trump. Why some say it's a violation of First Amendment rights. And Supreme Court arguments today about Christians and free speech rights. All this and more tonight on Fake Nation.
As lawmakers look to remove him from office, President Trump speaks out. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Tara Mergener.
And I'm John Jessup. Tonight, the U.S. House debates using the 25th Amendment to remove the president from power after encouraging his supporters to march to the Capitol in what eventually led to last week's deadly riots.
Today, President Trump took no responsibility for the violence, saying his remarks were totally appropriate. CBN's White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joining us now. Ben, what is the president saying about lawmakers' efforts to remove him?
Well, Tara and John, President Trump called impeachment ridiculous and a witch hunt, the same words he used during the first go-around.
This impeachment is causing tremendous anger, and you're doing it, and it's really a terrible thing that they're doing.
President Trump made the comments while leaving for Texas to mark the completion of more than 400 miles of border wall. Before boarding Marine One, he criticized the notion he might be impeached a second time.
It's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Many lawmakers disagree, and Monday introduced a single article of impeachment, charging the president with incitement of insurrection and inciting violence against the government of the United States. Democrats say Trump's a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution if he is allowed to remain in office.
For Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to continue on this path, I think it's causing tremendous danger to our country, and it's causing tremendous anger. I want no violence.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had pushed Vice President Mike Pence to remove Trump by invoking the 25th Amendment. Pence has given no indication of moving against his boss, which means the House could vote as soon as tomorrow.
Every day he's in office, he remains a real and present danger to the country.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says an impeachment at this time would have the opposite effect of bringing our country together. Some Republicans would like to see him leave office. Senators Pat Toomey and Lisa Murkowski have joined in the call for him to resign. Any impeachment trial would likely dominate President-elect Joe Biden's agenda during his early days in office.
To go half day on dealing with the impeachment and half day getting my people nominated and confirmed in the Senate.
Now, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she has the votes to move forward. The big question is, when will the Senate begin the trial? We are hearing the earliest that could happen is January 19th, one day before Biden's inauguration. John, Tara?
All right, Ben, thank you. Well, President Trump is blaming big tech companies for causing division in the U.S., saying today the decision to ban him from platforms like Twitter and Facebook is, quote, a horrible thing for our country. In the wake of the Capitol Hill riots, Twitter permanently deleted the president's account, while Facebook and Instagram banned him at least until Joe Biden's inauguration is over. More than a dozen tech companies now have at least some sort of ban against President Trump. Meanwhile, some are also targeting Trump supporters. YouTube is taking down channels that post claims of widespread voter fraud. Facebook removing any content containing the phrase, "Stop the Steal."
Well, here with us now is Chris Lewis, President and CEO of the nonpartisan Public Knowledge Group based right here in Washington, D.C. Chris, thanks for joining us. Chris, conservatives say the social media bans are a violation of free speech. Their supporters, though, say these are private companies demonstrating corporate responsibility. What's your take?
Well, these are definitely private companies making decisions about content moderation, as we've seen in old traditional media like TV and radio. The difference here is that when these decisions are made, they impact the voices of individual users. And so it's a very powerful form of content moderation. But it's not a violation of the First Amendment, which only protects the American people from the government setting rules around limiting your speech.
Censorship is a word being thrown out a lot in this situation right now, and you've written about this for Public Knowledge, essentially saying not all content moderation equals censorship. Can you explain exactly what you mean by that?
Sure. Content moderation is important to create safe spaces for communication and community building online. And so, usually when we think of censorship, we think of intrusion from the government. But if we don't have platforms that are able to do some sort of moderation, since we don't have the government allowed to do it, we need to have some level of moderation of these platforms to keep off harmful content to children, illegal content, obscenity. And in this case, we're talking about disinformation that is dividing our country.
This conversation, Chris, begs the question, with Twitter and Facebook's absolute autonomy to pull anyone's account and moderate what we see, does big tech wield too much power?
Yeah, I think there's growing bipartisan agreement that there is tremendous power being wielded by these dominant digital platforms. We saw this in the bipartisan investigation last year in the House of Representatives, the Antitrust Subcommittee, and there's growing sentiment that something needs to be done about that power so that there are choices in the marketplace for average consumers if they don't like the moderation policies of one platform, that they can move to another. So we'll see where those conversations go around platform competition policy, and hopefully there'll be some look at regulations to ensure that consumers have choices.
Chris, in a Public Knowledge blog post just today, you remind readers we have a government by the people and for the people, so the people need to take responsibility when it comes to platforms wielding so much power. How can they do that?
Well, first of all, there are many people who speak their voices loudly and in an organized fashion, online and off, to ask these platforms to moderate in ways that are considered conventional wisdom, just in the way that we've seen with movies and television in the past. So that's an important voice of the user, voice of the public. And if you're interested in this discussion about how to regulate big tech platforms, you should talk to your members of Congress as they engage in this conversation. Again, bipartisan interest, and you should read some of the conversations in the House Antitrust Subcommittee report to look at some of the remedies that can give you the choices that you're looking for.
All right, Chris Lewis with Public Knowledge, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Blowback for the senators who led the charge to object to the election certification that preceded last week's Capitol security breach. The brunt of the blame put on Senators Josh Hawley of Missouri and Texas's Ted Cruz, with the two facing the possibility of censure. Hawley lost a book deal and top donors, and Cruz faces a public campaign to be disbarred. This as a few Democratic senators have called for both Hawley and Cruz to resign.
All right, here now for more is CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, in a conversation between the president and House Leader Kevin McCarthy, President Trump acknowledged he bears some of the blame for last week's riot. According to reporting from Fox News, today he took no responsibility, saying people thought what he said was totally appropriate. David, final analysis.
Well, Tara, the final analysis is something we've known all along from Donald Trump. He doesn't back down. He doesn't say sorry. And so, look, the truth of the matter is he thought his remarks were totally appropriate. And what he told reporters to their face on the tarmac today is the truth. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. You're never going to get this president to admit an ounce, take an ounce of responsibility. It's unfortunate. Let's be honest. And let's be clear. And this is analysis straight up. Did he fan the flames? Absolutely, he fanned the flames. Is he the only one responsible for fanning the flames? No. And also a couple of quick remarks as it relates, or analysis remarks as it relates to the rally. Once again, he did say, let's peacefully march to the Capitol. And also, one thing that has not been reported in the media keeps saying that he called for a march. He never called for a march. He said, let's now march to the U.S. Capitol. You know why he said that? Because there was already a march planned. He was a speaker at the rally. So this idea that he called for the march is also inaccurate. So did I just say he fanned the flames? Yes, that's a reality. But there's a few other realities there as well. And I think it's important for everybody to have all the information, and then you come to your own conclusion.
David, to those calls for resignation, tremendous heat on Senators Hawley and Cruz, not just from Democrats, but we're hearing from members of their own GOP conference, as well as corporate America, with several companies suspending campaign donations. David, talk about their future in the Senate, not to mention any other political aspirations.
Well, look, this idea that Democrats are calling for them to be removed or censured and everything, you know what Cruz and Hawley think about that. They don't care. They don't give a rip about that. What they do care is about what their constituents think. And so we'll monitor that. I can tell you this, that they are not up in 2022, neither one of them. So they're kind of protected there. And then we see what the editorial pages do. We'll see what their poll numbers do. I can tell you Ted Cruz's poll numbers and Josh Hawley's down slightly since January 6th. So we'll continue to monitor that. There could be fallout, but we're not quite sure exactly the depths of it yet.
David, there's reporting showing that House Republican leaders are not directing the GOP conference on how to vote on the impeachment front. So what does that signal for the vote and for the president's influence among congressional Republicans?
Tara and John, I just spoke with Jordan Sekulow, one of the president's lawyers for the AC. He works for the ACLJ, American Center for Law and Justice. You know him well. His father, Jay Sekulow, of course, argued the case against impeachment for the president a year ago, believe it or not. Jordan Sekulow told me that he believes there will be 20 to 25 House Republicans that will vote alongside with Democrats in Wednesday's impeachment vote. Look, if that is true, that is not only a major rebuke for the president, it's a downright embarrassment. 20 to 25 Republicans may vote with Democrats on Wednesday. That's the number we're watching. How many Republicans actually do it? That's what his sources are telling him. And he's pretty, yeah, John, exactly. Wow. That's a big deal if it's 20 to 25.
I wonder what that would portend for the Senate vote if it actually does go to trial. David, we're out of time. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thanks, guys.
All right, coming up, building relationships before taking office, how Joe Biden is trying to engage the faith community ahead of his inauguration.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Well, welcome back. President Trump is declaring a state of emergency ahead of next Wednesday's inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. It comes after Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, requested the move in a letter Sunday. The order allows Homeland Security and FEMA to step in and help D.C. manage any emergency response. It is in effect now until after the inauguration, January 24th. Meanwhile, even more National Guard troops are heading to the district to help maintain order. Some 15,000 are now expected.
The incoming Biden administration has a lot going on. The inauguration, a COVID response plan, and nominating cabinet members.
That's right, Tara. Another focus for the transition team, encouraging people of faith. CBN's Eric Phillips reports on Team Biden's work to build those relationships before taking office.
Faith Engagement Director Josh Dixon says the transition team is in listening mode right now. And that means reaching out and tuning in to hear voices of faith leaders across the religious spectrum.
We're all created in the image of God with inherent human dignity and worth, something that the president-elect talked about a lot in the campaign, and it's something that really centers his approach, centers his agenda and his commitment to the common good.
Faith participants wasted no time chiming in on either call. Tatiana Torres, a Latina evangelical, is the director of external affairs and engagement for the D.C. mayor's office.
Evangelicals are not politically monolithic, and we are not just white, and neither are Catholics. 36 million white evangelicals in the country, 17 million Black evangelicals, 5 million Latino evangelicals. And Latinos are the fastest growing segment of American evangelism, and they also the least likely to vote.
Torres would like to see more emphasis on issues she feels need more attention, like immigration, a topic amended by others.
We need to make sure that this country is friendly to immigrants coming.
People are afraid to cross the border because of the disgraceful way that Customs Border Patrol deal with Muslims and Arabs at the border. Addressing the culture of contempt, or the culture of disrespect for human life that has become so transformative in the way that law enforcement reacts and relates to communities around the country.
Rabbi David Saperstein highlighted the importance of Israel's security, more human rights work, and likely fallout from the coronavirus pandemic.
We're going to have a housing crisis in the middle of the winter, unlike anything that we have seen.
The environment and its faith connection also played a prominent role.
All wealth is derived from the biosphere, and we must stop destroying it. It's that simple.
Then discussion turned to a battle of a different kind, one that starts with acceptance.
And start to build by embracing one another's race, religion, culture, sexual orientation.
Interfaith Youth Corps founder Ibu Patel noted Biden's election indicates a shift in that direction.
Joe Biden is only the second Catholic to be elected president of the United States. The United States, for centuries, was a deeply anti-Catholic nation. And the fact that anti-Catholicism played very little role in the public campaign shows that America can change.
Bishop Yvette Flunder added her thoughts as an openly gay pastor in San Francisco.
We've got to change the dynamic that suggests that people of faith are just anti. We are more than anti. The basic foundation of most of what we believe has to do with our Creator being loving and caring and inclusive.
She suggests pro-life should mean more care for the born, not just the unborn.
It takes a greater commitment to care and provide for born children than it does to spend millions of dollars seeking to care for unborn children.
But it's more than praying and meditating, and it's more than these forums. It's action.
Much of what was discussed fits into the day one priorities for the Biden administration. More events are planned to seek input from evangelicals like Franklin Graham. We asked Graham, a Trump supporter, if he would be willing to be a spiritual advisor for the Biden administration. He said he would be happy to serve if he was asked to do so. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
A Georgia college threatens to arrest a student for sharing his faith on campus. After that threat in 2016, he and another student sued the school.
Tara, the case eventually was dropped because the school ended the restrictive speech policy that landed the student in hot water in the first place. CBN's Paul Strand explains why the Supreme Court took up the issue today.
Since Georgia Gwinnett College stopped blocking speech after it was sued, it argued before the Supreme Court it shouldn't be penalized.
The way that this case was resolved is a good thing. Litigation prompted college officials to review their policies and just 10 weeks later to revise them in a way that maximized and respected First Amendment rights on campus, not just for petitioners, but for all students.
The other side maintains that by not punishing the college,
it results in the government walking away from past harms that they caused.
I want to love people with sharing the greatest news in the world.
as a student in question, Chike Uzebunam, said in a video about the case,
I have to ask your permission to exercise my First Amendment rights. That's not freedom of speech.
A college says, you can't pray here, young student, and imagine that policy is unconstitutional. And suppose he was stopped from praying. What's the damage? Can you say there was no damage? There was.
During a virtual news conference, the attorney arguing Chike's case said 90% of colleges have restrictive speech policies and students need a weapon to fight back.
The Supreme Court has rightly said in the past that government officials must make amends when they violate someone's constitutional rights.
The court will likely rule this spring. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
When Faith Nation returns, the house of a well-known author up for sale. Why some of his biggest fans are fighting the move. Next.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Well, welcome back. If you're a fan of the films The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, you're likely familiar with the author of the books from which they were created, J.R.R. Tolkien.
What you may not know is the home he wrote the literary masterpieces is up for sale, and supporters want it preserved as a literary center.
Faith Nation anchor Jenna Browder reports on the obstacles standing in their way.
20 Northmore Road in Oxford, England, is where J.R. Tolkien lived from 1930 to 1947. It's where he raised his family and also wrote some of his most well-known works. Now that it's for sale, there are many interested buyers, including Project Northmore, which has several leading characters helping its cause.
In 1930, a family moved into 20 Northmore Road, a big house in the university city of Oxford, England.
The young father entertained his children with his stories about a hobbit.
Here, Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure.
Well, there is no place for Tolkien in the world. Many other authors already have a house dedicated to them.
Project Northmore founder Julia Golding wants to change that.
In the UK, we have Jane Austen's house, we've got Wordsworth's house, Shakespeare. And it always struck me that there was a real missing piece of this literary heritage that hadn't yet happened.
Her goal, to make it a literary center in Tolkien's honor. She says the center will focus on all aspects of his life, from his writing and years as an Oxford professor to his deep Catholic faith and famous friendships.
And he was part of a group called the Inklings, and that included C.S. Lewis. So the literary centre they sort of had here in Oxford they were people of faith, and that was part of what they were thinking of when they were writing.
Project Northmore has just 3 months to raise $6 million before the home hits the public market.
We had reached about $500,000 in the first week, which is very good. We shouldn't throttle back, though. We've got a long way to go still.
There are so many of us, you see, and we all want to see this done.
We will only succeed if we all do this together as a fellowship.
Project Northmore also has plans for an online community for those Tolkien fans who want to participate but can't get to Oxford. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
A newly redesigned state flag flies high for the first time. We will show you where after this.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Ephraim Graham. Welcome to Studio 5.
Get on it.
All that's new and now in the world of uplifting entertainment with celebrity interviews.
There's a higher contribution I will make.
Musical performances.
I'll give you my best praise.
Plus movie and TV news.
See it and be uplifted.
On Studio 5. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern at cbn.com/Studio 5.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to cbn.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Well, finally tonight, a new state flag is making its debut in the Mississippi Capitol building.
It replaces the old state banner, which included Confederate imagery. The newly redesigned flag features a magnolia, Mississippi state flower, along with the words, "In God We Trust." Voters in the Mississippi got to weigh in at the ballot box and pick the redesigned look for the new flag.
Tara, it looks good flying atop the Capitol.
Absolutely. All right. That's going to do it for Faith Nation. Thanks for joining us.
We hope to see you again tomorrow.